good news is that we do now have a map to be able to get back on the beach and to start club activity. In line with the steps introduced by the government and enabled by the fact that SLSGB is a recognised national governing body for the sport of an activity of life-saving, and therefore can provide an NGB approved plan. Your activities will be permitted if you follow our guidance. And I'm going to explain to you now what the guidance and the map is. The first thing that you need to understand, and you probably already do, is that the step dates introduced by the government with the dates are provisional. The steps are firm, but the dates are provisional and are subject to the government 5-week review, and only will be acceptable if the data permits, and the government will issue rolling guidance on that. But based on what was provided, the information provided on the 22nd of February, the map that I'm now going to explain to you is based on the dates announced at that time. So I'm going to describe to you the dates in line with the steps relating to the government guidance, the requirements that you're going to have to meet, and also the permitted club activity. So starting on the 29th of March, which is step 1, the government has said that for recognised activity provided by NGB guidance, formally organised outdoor activity is permitted for adults and under 18s and is not subject to gathering limits. But we're going to provide some guidance around that. The activity must comply with NGB guidance, and that's what this is. It's what you're looking at now. Clubs must have an SLSGB trained COVID-19 safety officer and an SLSGB approved activity plan, and I'll talk about that a little more. The activity must comply with the SLSGB National Safety Guide ratios and safety requirements, and that is a document that most level 2 coaches will be familiar with. But for reference, you can find a copy of this on our website, and it sets out the structure and the framework within which SLSGB activity must take place. And this is the guide that you must now follow and use. And by way of explanation, previously we'd started activity on 6 people bubbles. The guidance is now that you don't use 6 people bubbles, but you move straight away to this guidance, and basically note that the scope of that is bigger than the 6 people bubbles, but also note that if you follow the national safety guides, it allows all the right people to be there to make sure that the activity is safe, that it's well managed, and that the right people are there to protect the people that are undertaking the activity and also those who are delivering the activity. Note that the government guidance permits up to 15 parents, and I'll talk about that a little more as well. And of course, the activity must be outside. Access to equipment is permitted, but that is covered within our approved activity plan, which your COVID-19 safety officer will be able to advise on. And if you haven't got a COVID-19 safety officer, you've got to get one before you can start the activity. We're advising that groups should be limited to 10 participants. This provides more than the 6 people bubble, but it also allows you to add on to those groups of 10, the coaches, lifeguards, the safeguarding people, and the helpers that are required to deliver the session. Also note that as the government has said, they will permit up to 15 parents to attend. For parents coming to sessions that are prepared to help, you can also use those to help deliver the session, as some clubs already do, parent helpers. But there must be only those used who are actually accompanying somebody to that session. when you get your sessions up and running, you should also note that you can have multiple groups, but you will need to organize the groups so that they don't socialize, no socializing is permitted, and that when groups arrive and leave the club, the crossover allows you to have a COVID-safe procedure. And again, this is covered in our approved operating plan, and COVID officers will know how to manage that. So moving to the 12th of April and step 2, pools are open, but activity is only permitted for under 18s, and your activity in pools will have to comply with whatever the pool operator guidance is, and they will issue guidance, and that's what you must follow. And some of you were using pools before this latest lockdown, and you're aware of what that might look like. On the 17th of May, we move to step 3, and adult pool is activity is permitted. So now all club members can enjoy pool activity. And 21st of June is really the big letter day. It's the Wahoo Let's Celebrate Day, because if we get to that stage with no adjustment of dates, then basically in step 4, all restrictions are ended. And so all activity can take place. Again, I'd like to remind you that all of this activity requires you to have, before you start anything, an approved COVID-19 safety officer who must be trained by us, and they will submit your activity plan, which we will approve. And when you've got all those approvals, you're ready to go. For those of you that you don't have that, contact SLSGB and we will put you in to the right steps for all of that to happen, for the safety officers to join online training and also help you to provide your plan. The thing that you must remember is that all of the preceding slide is predicated on an approved activity within an NGB approved plan. It does not relieve you or any of the participants from maintaining social requirements, and all the government guidance throughout all the steps up until step 4 must follow the guidance that was produced on the 22nd of February. And basically, these are summarized here in terms of the steps and how they relate to your club activity. So during steps 1 and 2, a rule of 6 or 2 households outdoors and no indoors activity, and you must minimize travel. That means basically that you can't start taking barbecues and picnics and getting together on the beach before or after attending for activities. You enjoying the permissions that are granted by the exception for sport and for NGBs like us still have to follow the social activities, and therefore no socializing. Come changed, ready to do the activity, leave immediately after the activity, and don't socialize around the club. In step 3, the social requirements are up to 30 persons outdoors. So this is where you could have limited social activity. You could perhaps have limited barbecues and limited socializing, but social distancing rules must still apply. So you'll still have to socially distance and apply all the COVID-19 outdoor social distance rules. You could start to go inside the club, rule of 6 and 2 households indoors. That might enable you to open a kitchen and to be able to start to issue drinks, again within social distancing. But again, remember, that's only for 30 persons at any one time outside, in or around the club, and travel restrictions have been lifted. Step 4, well, the club can be fully opened, and this is our big Wahoo red letter day. If the COVID-19 disease and vaccination program follows and the steps can be followed, then that's our big red letter day. So basically, 21st of June is when the club can fully open with no restrictions other than any COVID-19 restrictions that might still be required in your approved plan. And we will update the approved plan as the government guidance changes. And that's the benefit of having the COVID-19 officer, because those are our first point of contact, and they're the people who we will communicate with if there's any changes or any adjustments are needed within the development of the steps. You must maintain safe behaviours, and this is the government slide that guides that. It might be good to print these up and put them up around the club, and other guidance that you might like in terms of maintaining space, and in appropriate situations, the wearing of face masks, but of course always washing the hands. And finally, please follow the guidance. It isn't a do it if you want to, and maybe we'll vary it. You must follow the guidance that we provided. If you have any questions, please send us a mail at mail@SLSGB with brief details and a contact number, and we'll get back to you quickly to help. And also mail at SLSGB if you haven't got a COVID-19 officer and you wish to appoint one and get them trained. And finally, if you have beach lifeguards who you've been training during the lockdown and they've done all the non-face-to-face stuff, but they need to be assessed to be ready to be deployed at Easter, then contact us to learn how you can do this. There is a way that you can do this, a lawful way to do this, and it is for lifeguards that would be to be deployed at Easter. And as you know, Easter is before the planned 12th of April review, but local people will still be able to use beaches, although if people are lawful, outsiders from Cornwall and Devon won't be able to come. There'll be no accommodation available to them. And so at Easter, beaches may be busy, but it will be by local people. So if you want to get lifeguards that you've already done most of the learning content for, but they need the face-to-face assessment, contact us and we'll help you to get that done. There is a way of doing that lawfully before Easter. So get ready to be back on the beach. Great news. As I said before, if you've got any queries, come back to us and we'll do all we can to help or to advise you. Thank you.